All right, so welcome to Dynamic Power. We're going to be working a lot of the principles of the Bowspring method, but also in coordination with more generalized flow, which I know many of us in Mesa are more accustomed to the vinyasa format. So I try to make it approachable. Please utilize the practice, utilize the information in a way that benefits you. It is one of those practices, though, that when you can apply all these different unique patterns to your body, there's a lot of potential for power, a lot of potential for strength, resilience, deep stretching, and really giving the body a good posture, good healthy posture. So without further ado, I'm going to ask us to come to a comfortable seat and elevate your pelvic floor a little bit. If you have, whatever you have at your disposal, whether it's simply sitting in hero pose, so your heels are your base, or if you happen to have a yoga block or a pillow or a cushion, you can place that below your hips. And we'll start with a little meditation. Use the hands first, take a seat wider, or widen your seat, better said. And draw the hands out in front of you, let the hands soften onto your lap, broaden your elbows out to the sides, tip the head back just a little bit, you guys, and find a place where we're working towards less tension in the throat. So find that place. It would be somewhere in the neutral zone where you're not tucking down nor over open, and there's a balance point. And you might play with it a bit. The answer doesn't have to be immediate, just like anything today. And keeping your eyes closed, let the ribs get bigger and wider on the inhale. And then keep the lift. That's the goal. Sustain the growth you built by inhaling even as you exhale. Those of you I'm seeing popping onto the class right now, if you want to turn your camera on, it's totally up to you. I enjoy seeing my students so I can interact with you a little more personally. You're not recorded. The recording we do is just of my screen, so please know you're totally safe there. At the same time, if you prefer keep the camera off, listen and play, that's totally cool too. I respect that. And so again, draw the inhale. Think of an upward rising energy as you inhale all the way through the crown of your head. And then energetic rooting on the exhale towards the earth. And then continue the breath work. So full inhale, and then really work to complete your exhale all the way out. The tendency where some of us lose the fullness of the breath that we get to experience is on the exhale. So I invite you, please work a full exhale. Today, the theme or the intentionality of the practice of the flow of the dynamic power we build is a continual message that you already are enough. You are enough. You don't have to be something that you aren't. You are enough. With the change of our schedules and our daily duties, and even maybe a sense of purpose right now, pending your situation, it might feel like we're not enough for the call or for what we're being asked. And so reminding yourself, you guys, put your hands onto your heart. So one palm on, other palm on, breathe up into your hands and remember, notice all that sweetness in there. Breathe forward and up into the chest, into the collarbones, which can spread wider. Keep the lift even on the exhale. Holding space for an acknowledgement that you are enough. Final breath here. And we're going to push the hands out in front of us. Let the fingers soften and curl in. We call these seed hands. Push the ribs behind you, more importantly, and start to wag the ribs from left to right. So you really broaden the whole thoracic side of your back. And it's not only a broadening of your back there, it's a lifting up off your hips, right? So each wag of the ribs is an elevation away from the hips, away from the hips. So you get spinal traction by way of making the heart more radiant. And keeping that, start to open up your throat, lean forward with your heart like so, lift your hips off your prop and make your way to all fours. If your legs were crossed, make your way to all fours from there safely. We'll all meet there on our hands and on our knees. Oh, thanks, my cat moved for me. So on our hands and knees, we'll warm up. You guys start to push forward and back, side to side, cat-cow type of movements. One more thing I forgot to add, I always forget this at the beginning. If you want to play your own playlist in the background, I'm a big encourager of that. If something more than just my voice for the next little bit here for your practice would be nice. That's totally cool. Play your playlist, play your background music. Your sound is on mute, so don't be shy. Play what you like. And we'll come back to the center, you guys, and we're going to take your right foot and swivel it off the mat. It's called a kickstand off to the right. And then lift your left knee and put your left foot on the side of the yoga mat. As you exhale, sit your hips back towards the right heel. Yeah. And as you inhale, tip your head to the right, come up to the tips of your left fingers and arc the left rib cage really high. And try that a couple more times. Okay, as you go back, you're trying to widen the pelvis, like the pelvis can breathe a big inhale by opening itself. Inhale, tip the head to the right, left ribs rise. And so you'll notice in this dynamic class, keep going, that there will be some pulsing in it, some moderate repetition, not so much to be redundant, but to explore the curvature of the spine and the power that we can find when we open fully to the ribs, open fully in the hips, and even ultimately open fully in our head, in our skull, in our mindset. Let's come back to all fours. Watch how you land lightly as the left hand returns, as the left knee returns. Pause in the center, hips push back and wide. And then head pulls forward and up, spring loaded. You just go with the breath. And the belly has a curve to it as you go. So there's, rather than there being a shortening of the front body, that's a big difference here, is we actually let the belly get super open. The throat as well, super open. Now for the other side, same process. You're going to take your left foot, swivel, kickstand it off to the side, and lift the right knee rather, put the foot on the mat there to the side. Exhale, sit hips back and wide, opening your hips, kind of like a child's pose, but more active. Inhale, dome up to the right fingertips. The right ribs are the priority. And then continue a few pulses. And I hope what you can visually see through my screen is a prioritization of the rib cage lifting, not the head, right? In fact, you can let the head arc away, creating this really nice curvy spine, wherein each vertebrae has space, has length to it. Hey, Tweety! She made it. I love seeing people pop in. It's so fun. We're just getting warmed up. Cool, we'll come back to all fours, and when we get back there, let's do some big barrel rolls now. So barrel rolls can be to the side, and then you round, let the belly shorten. Right now you can go to that cat pose, go to the other side, and then let the belly drop. And just make really, really big movements, you guys, opening the spine in all these different healthy directions it can go. And pay attention as you move with yourself. So there could be little tickle spots or chronic tight places that the body's trying to give you some information on. Great place to add some sensitivity to self. Retrace the barrel rolls. Go the other way, please. Do a few or a couple of those. And potentially notice it ever widening. That's cool, you guys. When you get so sensitive to the practice that you notice when there's a bit of repetition, that there's more space, that's the yoga, not just doing it, but noticing the effects. Cool, coming to center, let's find downward dog. Curl your toes and lift your hips. And just for a moment, let yourself go to that more traditional shape, which is more linear. It's an upside down V shape. The head can relax, your tailbone is high, your heels press down. Yeah. And from there, I'll teach you how to bowspring this shape. So let the gaze come a little bit forward so the throat is more open. Broaden your elbows more out and literally pull your triceps away from your hips. Bend the knees a little bit, just a little. Increase the hips back more. Now we're going to pulse like we did on the floor. Inhale, pull the ribs forward. Imagine you're peering over the edge of a building, right? Beyond the fingertips. Heels stay low. And then exhale, sit the hips back again. Work the lower body. Pulse between those two curvy extremes, but check it as you're going. The heels aren't doing the work, or the feet, better said. It's actually what it is, you guys. You're pulsing from your core. So the belly is squeezing, but it's staying long and strong. That's Bowspring. That's dynamic power. Cool. Next time you pull forward, put your knees back down on the ground. Pause, catch your breath. Big breath in, big breath out. Good job. Point the feet. Step the hands back. Sit on the heels. Close your eyes. So the dynamism of this class too is a little bit different. You can close the eyes, catch your breath, roll the wrists out maybe, roll the neck out, do cool stuff that feels good. The class is less of a bell curve, you'll notice. It's more of a wave form, just like nature. We're going to be going up and down with the heat. Okay, so just noticing the process, the exploration is not always what you might expect from a more traditional class. Cool, now from here, let's put the hands on the sides of the ribs like you're tickling yourself or doing the chicken dance almost. And then feel with your hands in this horseshoe shape, breathe laterally. So you're wanting to get the ribs to actually unstick from the center. And we're training for inner expansion on all sides. Okay, so do some deep breaths here. With your hands, you're just feeling how your rib cage moves. It's not only forward, it's all sides. It's even up and down. Just like the energy of the sunlight. It's multi-dimensional, if you will. And so when you find that, you guys, our back bends in this practice, they get so deep and so powerful all at once. It's never a collapse, right? It's an empowerment up. Cool, so let's play with that. Arms forward, keep the ribs full, place the hands on the ground, but as you go, how light can the ribs be? So this will reduce any tension in the wrists. Curl your toes, crouching cat, lift the knees, stretch the legs out, and take a couple pulses. Just as we did before, please emphasize this possibility of the ribs not collapsing like that, like I'm showing now, but instead radiating skyward as if full of space. Cool. Now, little challenge, you can do it. Swivel the knees to the right, hips arc to the left. Yeah, and then go the other way. Swivel on the feet, knees to the left, hips arc to the right. Do that a couple more times and you'll feel the obliques working, so good core work. But more importantly, I want you to notice the lack of linearness and the invitation for curves. Pull the ribs away from the earth. Yeah, notice I didn't say push away. I said pull the ribs, so there's this oxygenation of the lungs. Yeah. Cool, cool. Next time you find center, step the feet wider than a yoga mat, whether you have one or not. It doesn't matter, just a wide stance. And walk your hands back to a forward fold. Elongate your legs, grab your elbows, do a little dangle, shake it out. Be easy for a moment. Take a full inhale through the nose, and if you choose to, maybe exhale out the mouth, or just an exaggerated exhale that feels good. Let the head dangle, maybe bob your head a little bit. I'm not gonna bob mine too much because I don't want my headphones to come out, but you guys have free range to play. Cool, cool. Release the hands, bend the knees a lot. Put the hands on the knees and straighten your arms. We call this recovery, okay? So you establish the healthy shape of the body. Open pelvic floor, fullness in the ribs, and a nice open throat. Now begin to wag the tail again. Just tip the hips left and right, or more advanced, since some of you practice with me a little bit longer than others, try a figure 8 shape if you can. Or even if you're new and I just want to do it all, Sarah, go for it. And you're trying to move the hips in all these different directions. And as you're doing this, notice your knees can respond. They don't have to stay straight forward. The knees have a natural relationship to the hips, having a swivelly power behind. Yeah. Yeah. And continue with that. And notice how your arms are straight. If they're not straight, push them all the way long so your belly can be full length. Right? So the openness of the hips doesn't have to compromise the length of your spine or the belly. Fantastic. We'll stand all the way up, you guys. Step your feet onto your yoga mat, hips distance apart. Pause, mountain pose. Take a couple deep breaths as I adjust my camera just a little bit. Feeling the end of the floor, whatever the material may be, yourself be sensitive to that. And then all the way through the energetics of the skull, rising upward towards sky. For mountain pose, we'll bowspring this a little bit. So first, just soften your toes a lot. Even actually, let's do this. Let's lift all the toes and notice how the tops of your feet get really tense. Okay, that's something we actually want to avoid in this practice, believe it or not. Spread them, give them space, and as you place the toes back down, let them meet the mat with a softness versus a grip. Yeah, do that a couple times. Let's just work the feet. Inhale, lift the toes, go crazy, go spread them out wide. Notice all four corners of your feet. That's a good thing. And then as they meet the floor again, they're soft, like little pillows of love. And then one more time, lift the toes up, spread them ridiculously wide. And then the observation is, how do I meet the floor with my foundation? Yeah. So liquefy the feet. That'll help increase sensitivity. That creates more power when we're sensitive. Bend the knees, put your fingers here in the creases of your hips, and encourage the groins to go both down and a little bit back. Okay, down and back at that angle. Then touch your belly, one hand higher than the other, and encourage there to be a distance, a length. As there's length in the core, allow the spine to follow. So check it. As I ask you to lengthen your belly, I'm not asking you to overarch your back and do a sway back. That would be pinchy and painful. Alternatively, imagine there's also hands on the back side and you want all that to get longer. Soften your toes. Hold the ribs again as we did on the floor. Take 2 deep breaths. Notice an expansion on all sides. Radiant heart is called. Inhale, bigger than ever, dynamic power. Exhale, there's a nice healthy softening of the tissue. But there's still a lift. Notice that one more time. Inhale, you get the lift. It's inherent with the inhale. And the exhale is not a collapse. It's just a grounding. Inhale, arms forward and up towards the sky. Reach the right rib cage higher. And then exhale, come to center. Inhale, reach the left rib cage higher. And as you can see, inevitably I am doing a side arc, but your emphasis, you guys, is your rib cage. Inevitably the arm follows and there's this really deep, delightful side bend. But I'd like to invite you, for the dynamism I want you to experience today in this class, it has to come from something much deeper than the edges of your body, like your neck or even your fingertips. Let the gut stay open but toned. It's as if you're picking ripe fruit off of a tree. Now keep with this and check it. See if you can do it with your heels hovering just barely off the ground. And you can probably barely even see how little mine are hovering because it's intended to be a very small amount. When your heels are hovering, it's much more like what you would do if you were going to jump. Then back body, posterior chain gets turned on like crazy. You get all this extra power. Good, you guys come back to center, put the hands on the knees. Recovery pose, this time with our feet a little more narrow. Pause and allow yourself to assimilate. A big challenge of this practice is the emotional stuff that can come up. Asking our back to really hold us up in times of challenge and our front to stay open isn't easy. Cool, next one, this is fun. Bend the knees, stretch your arms forward. Stand up. Little arm education here. First, take your thumbs and rotate them down. So that will cause you to round forward, kind of like you're slouching. That will open the back ribs more. Then do the opposite rather. Just open the palms up, service arms. Let the chest and the collarbones get broad. Add a little pulse. Again, take the thumbs down, spread the wings in the back heart, bend as deep as you'd like. Big, deep challenge. Inhale, rise up, open the palms, take a safe little back bend without tucking your tailbone. Couple more. Sit low, fill the back, thumbs point earth. Glutes are turned on. Inhale, rise up. And as you express the back bend, keep your ribs full. Couple more. It's so cool when you start to lay back into full ribs, full heart, not pinched shoulders, alternatively spacious behind, belly opens. You'll begin to observe such a deep safety that you might do it with your heels hovering. Maybe the next back bend, lift the heels just enough to challenge your capacity to hold your back body up. And if it doesn't go perfectly, it's all good, you're learning. And for some of us, it might be brand new. Mountain pose, relax the body. Again, let's pause, take a full breath in, and then a full breath out. If you're not already, step to the front of your yoga mat, and then dig, drag, hover the right leg in the air. The knee has a little bit of a bend to it, so you can do this. Do a little kick, push, kick, push, kick, push. Put your right hand on the glute back there and observe a power, rather than a sleep. Now I want you to sit into that and go as low as you can go. One-legged chair pose, you could think of it, that access, recruit your glutes. Recruit your glutes, big bowspring term. Inhale, come back up. We'll go other side. Right foot lands softly. Land the feet without banging the joints down. Dig, drag, hover the left leg. Before you go low, just kick, pull, kick, pull. Imagine you're in like liquid goo and that left leg did not move as easily as it did in air. So we really want to move the muscles or use the muscles. Now sit low, one-legged chair. How low can you go on one leg? Left leg stays active. Mine is in the air. Inhale, rise back up, back to the first side. It's super fun, dynamic. Sit low, hover the right leg. Now this time, open it out to the side. We call this one open leg. Yeah, and then bring it back narrow and open it out again. So you can think of it like a butt exercise. That's great, but let's add the ribs. Get the ribs full, let the belly open, and only widen your right knee as far as you feel the pelvic floor creating space. So the hips go first, the knee follows. Keep it out wide. Right hand to the hamstrings. So you reach behind you. Yeah, hold the hamstrings, lift them up, stretch your left arm out long, open your belly, and extend the right leg towards wave, towards a straighter leg. Sit back into the hips, open up the belly, breathe. Let there be a little pulse. Exhale, root. Inhale, rise. Exhale, root. Inhale, rise. Good. Bend the knee. Step back to tribal pose. It's a lunge, kind of like warrior two. Okay, I'm showing it, but shorter stance. Okay, hands to the knees. Let's chill on the back a little bit. Wag your tail side to side. Open the pelvic floor. Distance the sitting bones. That's a powerful measure. Sitting bones can be so contracted in, and we get a narrow, straight pattern. Instead, distance the sitting bones apart, much like a tribal dance, like if you were really grooving to some good beats. You'd open up, then out of that, open up the belly, tip the head a bit side to side. Don't let the practice get too caught up in the jaw and in the throat. And we'll do a little side bend, so put your left elbow softly on the left leg, work towards a lightness. Your ribs are full, right arm overhead. Take a full stretch of the right side body. On your exhale, bend the knees to sit the hips more behind you in space. On the inhale, go full length of the spine, even gaze more forward with your eyes. How light can you get in that left arm? If you maybe have some sensitivity in the spine, or if you're a little new to this class, feel free to keep this left arm a little heavier, okay? Otherwise, those of you with me a little longer, I'm gonna ask you to ecstasy the arms. That's where you hold the sides of the head with both hands and you pulse. And if this is new to you, take it one dose at a time. But what I will share is the length of the belly, the rootedness of the hips, the lightness of the ribs and the head allow for this curvature to occur, honestly, with a very minimal amount of effort. The alignment gives space. Now we'll all put our hands on the ground inside that left foot. Bend both knees and then straighten both legs. You just go up and down. If you're getting a little tired, put some weight into your hands. That's okay. Yeah. Or put a yoga block under your hands if you have something handy. Alternatively, more challenge, we're learning how to hold ourselves up dynamically. So that would indicate less weight in the arms, so much so the hands could do a chin-up bar shape. Exhale, low hips. Inhale, high hips. 2 more. Energy up the back sides of the legs. Tailbone does not tuck for us to have that full extent of power. Yeah. And then inhale. Next time the knees are bent, stand all the way up, put your hands on your hips, and spin the left foot in so the feet are parallel to that long edge of your mat. Good job, you guys. Bend the knees. Put your hands on the back sides of your knees for a moment to learn. So notice how the backs of your knees have a hollow. They're a little bit of a cup back there, right? They're not flat. And actually, you can do that for a second. Let the knees kind of lock back. Just don't do it too heavily. Do it safely. You'll notice it gets puffy. Right, so the hollow, bend the knees again. You can wait there with the hands. Do some twists, side to side. Keep moving. Keep grooving. The hollows of this practice are important. The places of the body where we create space on the inside. The backs of the knees is one. And there's quite a few more, and it's these hollows of the bow that give us bounce and pulse. Okay, are you ready? As you touch the ground, go so light, super light, delicate, because you're learning to hold self up. Then slide the hands forward and place them flat onto the ground. Pull the ribs forward, and then bend the knees, push the hips back. I'll turn to a bit more of an angle to help. So again, it's like that crouching cat, but the feet are wider apart, and the hands aren't quite so far away. This is cool. Level up. Maybe try some little hops. Hopping towards a handstand. Hips high, feet touch. Hips high, feet touch. Make it less about how high you go, unless you want to go crazy, but really make it more about how you land. The lighter the feet land, the more indicative of the process of holding yourself up on all sides is. Use the glutes, recruit the glutes, yeah. Then walking back, bend the knees, rise up to a standing position, spin your left heel in, left toes point forward, and step lightly to the front of your space. Push your arms out in front of you and start to move like this, side to side with your ribs. Serpentine movement. The arms follow the ribs. That's tricky. Your arms might want to do this and just kind of go for a show, like you're maybe at a rave. Arms more steady, get the rib cage to move. Up and away from the opposite hip. Up and away. So we call this a seaweed sway. And then you have to let the head tip away from the ribs so that way your neck does not get kinked up. It doesn't get kinked up. It's not uncommon for this to be less even about the physical, can I do it? All these things she's asking me to do, but also the emotive stuff that comes up when we put ourselves in a place of powerful vulnerability. It's normal. Good, bend the knees, arms can lower, but your ribs stay high. Hover the left leg in the air. With the left leg in the air, open the knee and then close it. Okay, pay really close attention. Let's actually this time put your hand on the bottom, on the glute there. Feel for what's creating the opportunity for your leg to move. It's not so much the extra or the distal part, the most distant from the hip. It's this more proximal place of the pelvis. When that widens, then the leg actually follows you. And that's a cool space when you can move from there. Keeping that, reach the arms out forward. Let the hips sit so far back that as you step into tribal, it's a really light, easy step. Put your hands onto your knees, bend them deeply and sit back. Your right toes are pointing forward. Your left toes are almost parallel to the back of your mat, but a little pigeon toe is helpful to keep the hips wide. Sit back, let's wag our tail again, swooshing an imaginary skirt in really slow motion. And this is range of motion stuff for the pelvic floor. It's so much more than just inner and outer spiral. And you can go figure 8 too, really playing with the dynamic, but it's still a place of power in the hips. Let's stretch our sides out. Put your right elbow on your right leg. Extend your left arm above head. On the inhales, you're reaching not just your arm, you're reaching your ribs away from the hips. And on your exhales, bend the knees a bit more and sit back. And then keep pulsing. Tip the head to the right ear to the right shoulder. So the priority here is my left ribs, your left ribs too, going up, moving away from the right side. Widening this heart space on all sides like that ever expanding sun. This is a cool place to stay. Otherwise, hold the head, ecstasy arms. Narrow the elbows, fill the ribs, exhale, sit the hips back. Inhale, arc forward. I'll show you a front view maybe to help educate. So there's a lightness, not because you have to be excessively strong. It's dynamism that gives us this power. Yeah, I've shared this method with so many people of all injuries and ages. And when you find this inner curvy pull, power, strength, really the opportunities are endless of what we can find. So inhale it to all, put the hands on the ground, that should be an exhale. Let's just pump the legs, go high to low. Extend your legs more straight, keep the pelvic floor open. Exhale, bend. If your low back is getting a little tired, that's normal. Let the hands bear more weight and get some movement in, that's cool. Right, either way, work towards a shape where you can see in my body as I get straighter in my legs, there might be a tendency to go like this, to round your back, like a hyper tuck. And the effort here is to instead keep the sitting bones really wide. Maybe chin up, bar the arms, not utilizing the arms as a place to bear weight, to ask yourself to actually go more up, more lift, more dig with the feet, more drag up of the pelvic floor. Simplify. And then bend low. Inhale, stand up. Put your hands on your hips and now swivel the right foot to the front of your space, or to the long edge of your yoga mat space. With your hands, give a little massage to the hips. Slight bend to the knees. And similar to how we did with the ribs, it's different, right? Because it's not like we can breathe into our hips, right? Our breath only goes here in the lungs. But observe, check it. When you hold with your hips, you can feel the space you make. Do a little, like you let the legs straighten and do a little tuck. And you'll probably feel for most of our bodies a narrowing in of these hips. And then let's do the opposite, what we're geared towards in this practice. Bend the knees, untuck the pelvic floor, lean the ribs forward of your hips so you're not stacked. Lean forward, and then the sitting bones, use your butt power, push wide. And you'll likely have felt an opening, a spreading, a more space, a larger healthy space in the hips. Keeping that, put your arms out in front of you. Hover your heels, swivel them in. Keep the ribs on the rise, descend towards a deep squat. Yeah. Imagine your arms are gonna push down into a table and rise back up. Yeah, low to high, you can do it. Exhale, sit down, the glutes go up as you go down. They also go up as you go up. Again, elevator mentality. The shape of the pelvis doesn't change whether I'm on the lobby or at the top floor. Push with the inner edges of your feet as much as the outer. It'll give you a lot more uniform tone. Yeah, nice, sweet. Sweating is normal. Go halfway down now, friends. Chin up, bar your arms. Yeah, and arc the left ribs high. Inhale. Exhale, back to that center place. Inhale, arc the right ribs high. Yeah, this is a waist maker. Arcing to the right, arcing to the left. Keep going. I'm going to close the window because there's some noise outside. I don't want to interfere. Keep going, you guys. Work the abdominal core, specifically obliques, as you're enjoying this little pull side to side. Opening. Okay, ready? Time to hop. Touch the ground. Take a hop, frog. Land lightly. That's not it. Stand back up. Here, get out of your head a little bit. Touch down, hop on the hands. Land light, hop in the air. You can go a couple times if you need to get out of your head a bit. Hands down, hop. And so it's not about stacked. It's the curves. It's the landing. It's the maintaining. I guess I catch my breath and talk at the same time. The mounting of the glutes up. The fullness of the ribs. Yeah, a couple more moments. Hopping, hopping. Hop on the legs. Hop on the hands. Hop on the legs. Hop on the hands. Belly stays long. It's a non-tucking handstand. Cool, let's do a little squat like I'm showing. Catch your breath. I need to catch mine. And just sway side to side. And a swiveling, a little arc. The hands can support you. Or if you like a little hands at heart center, that's nice too. Opening the pelvis. Such a permission
to be ourselves and to know that we are enough. We don't have to be something that we aren't. We are enough right here, right now. Good. Make your way to all fours, slidey light as light and slidey as you can. And then make your way again to a seat. Feel free to grab a block if that helps you. We're not here for too long, so your heels might be sufficient if that doesn't give you pain. Let's go palms facing up for a moment. And let's close the eyes. And I invite you to lay your head a little more back than you're used to. We're so conditioned for chin tucking through modern day living of screen looking. So this is the time, you guys, anytime you come to my class, almost everything we do, 99% will be to invite you to come to a pattern of openness through the central channel of your body. To like a curve from your pelvic floor up through your skull, there's an open channel. To close the channel, an example would be to tuck your chin, tuck your tail, or opposite of that, to overarch, right? And so we find that balancing place in the center, and we try to live there for the duration of the practice, even when we're resting. Why? Because when we rest, our body is patterning how our tissues hold us up. These tissues have memory, they have thought. Let the eyes softly open, you guys. Reach 2 seats forward out in front of you. Hover the hips off your legs. Now activate your feet. Notice you're gonna go point the feet, and then instead of pointing, just drag the tissues of the top foot in. That's called the hero foot. So the toes don't curl under. You're just dragging. So you can see there's just a little arch here in my ankle. Okay, that'll help get more power in your buns. Pump that a couple times. Keep the hips back. Open the throat up. Now, exhale, sit back. Arc over to the right side. Left lungs high. Right hand holds the right heel really lightly. Don't bear too much weight there. Exhale, sit the hips back. Open the pelvic floor to the right. Inhale, arc to the right. Left lungs rise. A couple more like that. Exhale, sitting the hips back. Inhale, arcing, tipping the right ear to the right shoulder. So even at the apex of our back bends in bow, the pelvis is still rooted back, curvy and long. Other side, sit back. Go arc up, go up and over to the left. Left hand to the left heel. Feet active. Right arm arcs. Right ribs rise. You're doing great, you guys. Tip the head. Spool and open the belly. Left sitting bone stays open as you pulse. It doesn't scoop under like I just showed right now. It stays sitting back and wide. The psoas gets so much dynamic power. It's so nice. A couple more. Tip the head away. Effort out of the neck. Big breaths. Yeah. Inhale back to center. Make your way to all fours. Barrel roll time again. Big movements. You can do the cat pose. You can do the cow pose. All around, checking in with your spine. Again, especially if you're new to this practice, I have to remind it takes a few times. It takes a few practices to understand this dynamism, what we're getting at. Go the other way. And so just so important to be sweet to yourself and compassionate, but also open-minded and aware of what we're doing. Sweet, come to the center, curl into your toes, lift your hips up and back. Pedal out legs, go one at a time. Drive one heel down, tailbone up. Other heel down, tailbone up. And we're gonna apply the mechanism that we learned in the standing part into what we're doing here, okay? So please listen carefully for most benefit and most safety. Crouching cat, bend your knees, lift your ribs up. Hollow the armpits. Dig, drag, hover the right leg. Pump it. Get it active like you're riding a bike. Now swivel the left heel, the one on the ground, over to the left at the diagonal. From the right butt, open the pelvis so that the knee lifts. Yeah, bring it back down again. Or just bring the knees narrow and then wide again, excuse, like we did when we were standing. If possible, dome the right hand just to the tips of the fingers. And so notice the movement of my space, of my body, is from the inner vital part. It's not my outer just trying to go really high. Eventually we do get there. pump and flow from the inside. Now take the right foot on the ground behind the left leg. Swivel on the paws, on the feet. Take the right arm overhead, but sit down low. Exhale. Inhale, widen, now lengthen, go for it. Keep the hips rooting away. Do not tuck your pelvis. Exhale, root. Inhale, rise. Now that left rib cage may want to collapse. And here's your work. Keep that left side body full. It's not easy. It's worth it. Yeah. Back to the center. Please come down to all fours for just a brief moment. Sit back into the hips. Put the hands onto the knees and just catch the breath and let your body absorb. We call it assimilation, and it's just as important as this active stuff I'm guiding you through. Pause, hold fullness of the body, keep your central channel open, and let the body educate. Let the body observe. Breathe. Then push the arms out, heart forward, hips lift, avoid tucking, land light with your hands, slide forward, curl the toes, lift the hips, crouching cat. Yeah, twist the knees now to the left side. Yeah, knees go to the left. Big dragon, hover that left leg in the air. Go open the left knee and then narrow the left knee. Open it and close it. The right heel, the one on the ground, that's spun out to the side so the right glute can be undone. Good, you guys. For a moment, as you're doing this, take your left hand off the ground and hold the right ribs. Fill that up more. Pull it broader out from the center of the heart. Good, then put the left hand into dome, just the tips of the fingers here on the mat, and open the left hip more so. Open, open, big hips, open heart. And then touch the foot behind you, super light. Swivel the left arm overhead. Keep the right ribs that we just touched a second ago super full. Exhale, sit the hips low towards your heels. Inhale, broaden, open, and stretch. Do a couple more pulses. Sit down low. Pelvic floor stays broad the whole time. The priority is the length of the belly, not the height of the hips. The priority is the fullness of the ribs, not how visually from the external you can go. Come back to center, touch lightly, make your way back to all fours, hands and knees. Make your way back to a seat. Pause, please, and let your body absorb the information. Full breaths. Open the throat up, part your teeth. Our nervous system is trained to tighten and ball up and tense when stuff is hard. This is not just a physical practice, you guys. It's a practice into how do I keep my nervous system in a place of power, trust, self-reliability. My back is strong and turned on to support me, even in the face of challenge, even when every part of my habits before were to clench in. Whew, big mindset work. All right, let's get into a little bit of traditional yoga to cool down. Find your downward facing dog by way of lightly reaching forward. Curl your toes, lift your hips. This time a little more playfully, maybe even in your own way. Lift the right leg, bend the knee, do some circles. Little circle, circle, easy peasy. We'll do our pigeon pose. So take that right knee, put it behind your right wrist. Let the right shin be diagonal below you. Scooch the left leg way, 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 way back. And descend down onto your elbows. If there's a different version of pigeon pose, please do so. If you want to do a little added twist or mermaid, if you know what that is. If this is too excessive on the knee joint, a bowspring way of doing this pose is a figure four. So creating figure four from the ground up, you would be on both knees. Let me face you, that might be better. Maybe not. Figure four, and the elbows can also go to the ground. So taking a lot of the pressure out of the knee joints, but still getting that dynamic pelvic floor stretch. We'll take 5 fluid deep breaths. Please close your eyes if they aren't already. And come into that center point of the heart. That sweet, sweet space of your own heart that defines you. unique you that is fully enough. You are enough. And you don't have to be something that you aren't. You are enough. Two more breaths here in either pigeon or the Bowspring version I showed you. We call that one Falcon Pose. And we'll slowly lift up. Please take your time. Place your hands, curl the toes, lift yourself up and back. And do any kind of movement that feels intuitive and good for you. You might pump or flow, or you're in the chaturanga if you like to add those in when you get a chance to. And then we'll take that left leg, glide it in the air, do some movements of your own, some circles, sways. And then traditional pigeon pose, glide the knee through. Otherwise, again, I'll show the falcon. You cross the left ankle above the right knee like a figure four. Land really lightly on the joints and make your way to your elbows. Falcon or pigeon, your preference. Breathing space into the broadness of the heart, into the fullness of the hips, and even into the broadening of the mind. Let's do two more full breaths. And we'll slowly make our way up. Feel the back toes, safely make your way back up. Shake out the left leg, out of chaturanga. You do you. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're breathing. Cool, you guys have a seat, face the long edge of your yoga mat, so however that easiest occurs for you. Janu Shirshasana. Right leg out, pull the left foot into the inner thigh. Right, so you could start with a V and then just bring one foot in. Pretty simple. Open the pelvis, untuck, grab opposite ends of the floor, opposite sides of the floor, turn belly button to the right, cross the left arm over to the right foot, twist and fold. Forward folds, stay with it, you guys, are cooling, they're soothing, right? It's why we like it as humans. The nervous system, it is a very pretty quick and straightforward way to get into the parasympathetic nervous system. You're probably feeling that right now. And with the pigeon, when we fold, when we get curl into a ball, that's a response that we're safe, right? And that's what I asked you to train with today, is finding that safety without having to close yourself up, with staying open. On the inhale, friends, we'll come back up just to switch out sides. So on your own timing, extend the left leg out to the opposite V. Pull your right foot into your inner thigh. Untuck the pelvis a bit so the sitting bones feel wide. Turn left, cross right arm, and enjoy your fold, working your belly button towards the left leg as the hips stay rooted back. Right, and I wouldn't say it's ever wrong to do a lot of forward folding in the practice, right? That can be really nice. Sometimes that's what we need, for sure, to just chill out, fold, and breathe. But if that's all we're doing all day, right? If we think about a 24-hour cycle, for most of us, we're C-curving all day long, really, right? Sitting on the couch, sitting in our desks. Typically, most of us are C-curved, and even when we sleep as well. So the intention behind this type of practice that I love so wholeheartedly is at least it's that, at least a half hour to an hour a day of not training the opposite, not training a back bend that's the opposite of a C-curve, but instead it's somewhere in the middle. Take one more breath here. And we'll inhale and slowly rise yourself up, full splits. It doesn't have to be wide apart. Both legs can be pretty narrow, especially if you have pretty tight hips. Widen the hips using your hands, open the flesh of the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen your back. Exhale, enjoy a little fold. Let yourself lower down. Try to keep your toes pointing more up to benefit more from your time spent here. Also try to keep a little action in the pose. Push your heels down and even a slight drag back towards you, kind of a heel hook feeling when you climb. That'll help keep the muscles turned on so the stretch stays more into the belly of the muscle, which is much safer than it sometimes ending up in the attachment points of the muscle and on the edges. Right, so it's this different type of training. It's a whole new axis of space, this bowspring of discovering a shape to take where your nervous system can be as calm as it's probably feeling right now, even when you're holding space, even when you're big and full-hearted, full-hipped, full-minded. Please, on the inhale, slowly make your way up. You can use your hands under your knees is my best recommendation as you tip back and pull the feet in just for safety. And find your way to your back, and I invite you to do that however you like so that you're comfortable on your space. Once you are on your back, hold the knees into your body and create a little sway, a little side to side roll. Maybe finding some places that you want to massage into, making some circles with your knees, big or small. Supine twist will be our final little thing here. So take the left, first just put your left foot on the ground and use the pressure of the foot to move your hips to the right. Okay, then straighten out the left leg and cross your knee over your body. Open the right arm up and take a handful of relaxed breaths. Full breaths. How do we do that, right? Full and relaxed at the same time. It can be tricky, right? To take really big breaths and not get tense around that. But letting yourself play with that boundary. How can I be so full and steady, but also soft and relaxed? Holding space to feel the worth of myself. Last breath on this side. And then inhale, slowly journey to your center. Put the right foot down, adjust the hips center. Pull the left knee in, but again, before you twist, you want to adjust your hips. So right foot pushes, move the hips slightly left. Then straighten your right leg out. Bend the knee, cross and cross your body, and open your left arm out to your left side as you twist. Our pelvic bowl houses our foundation, energetically, chronically, in relationship to the chakras, the energy center. It's our foundation, it's our home. When that home feels narrowed and small and powerless, it can be really not a good place to exist. And so when we get this opening that we worked on so much of today, you guys did so good, there is this embodiment of a more spacious and steady home, a home that can be carried wherever you go. One more full breath. And we'll journey slowly back to your center. Readjust your hips so they feel centered and find a final happy baby pose. Letting either just hold the backs of your knees. That's a nice place to be if you're desiring that. Otherwise, maybe reaching for the challenge of the feet, toes, Pulling the knees down, way to the sides of the body, way to the right and to the left. There could even be some extension of one leg at a time here, really getting those healthy hamstrings open and more free. And the best part, Shavasana. Release the legs. And before you go completely to sleep, let me share with you one more helpful hint. So let the legs extend out long and wide. And notice your pelvis might be tucked a little bit. So just use your hands. It's so easy. You just untuck the pelvis, right? Just like when we were sitting in meditation and a lot of the things we did, ask the pelvis to stay more spacious. Then touch your groins. So here, the groins, the topmost part of the legs, or the lowest part of the pelvis, here, when that's popped up, that's nervous energy, right? So when you can just massage it, you guys soothe it, encourage the femur bones to root down, earthbound. Then keep the hands there and try to get your ribs, wiggle literally your ribs away from your hips. So distance of the belly and back actually just got longer by way of wiggle. Now open up the throat, open up the arms, tip the ears back. Let the throat have a curvy openness to it, so the jaw is more pinpointing up. The energy flows more easily. Again, that central channel is not closed off. Eyes are closed, and there's always the option to place something over your eyes if you have a towel or a shirt, to give a little weight, a little added softness to the eyes. It can be so sweet. Let go of any breath control that you had. Let the body heal. To assimilate the information you gave it by showing up. Not asking for more than the normal or the mundane. By standing taller and fuller in the powerful and also sometimes vulnerable spaces of your body. Effort, without force. It's like a turtle breath. It's like the space around you is doing the breathing for you versus you imprinting or pushing it for yourself. Aim to become so relaxed that you might not even know if you're on the inhale or on the exhale. Thank you for being here with me today. Namaste.